Good morning, students. Today we begin with the first poem from the textbook, A Time to Believe, Lesson 1.1 on page 2. I hope you all have kept your pencils or your pen ready so that you can mark the figures of speech as well as the meanings of the words that as I am teaching. Now, this poem is a poem by B.J. Morbitzer, and it tells us the central idea, the theme of the poem is that to always be positive, to believe that there are good things ahead in life, that good things are waiting to happen, to be optimistic about your future, yes, towards life. So we should believe that whatever will happen in future in our life, whatever is happening in our life is going to be something good. So let's start with the poem. To believe is to know that every day is a new beginning, is to trust that miracles happen and dreams really do come true. To believe is to see angels dancing among the clouds, to know the wonder of a stardust sky and the wisdom of the man in the moon. To believe is to know the value of a nurturing heart, the innocence of a child's eyes, and the beauty of an aging hand, for it is through their teachings we learn to love. Right, now I will explain this how much I have read. The first two lines, to believe is to know that every day is a new beginning. It is an epigram because it's a saying, it's a proverb. EPIGRAM. Now look at the first line. To believe is to know that every day is a new beginning. Also, letter B is repeated. So, alliteration, letter B is repeated for poetic effect. B in believe and B in beginning. So, here in the first line itself, he is telling us that when you have a new day, you have a new start. You start everything anew. Forget about what has happened the day before or before that. Maybe there is something bad or not so pleasant happened in your life. You forget about it. Don't think about it and start anew, start afresh. The next line is to start that miracles, trust that miracles happen and dreams really do come true. The third line, trust and that. Letter T is repeated, so it is alliteration. The letter T is repeated for poetic effects. And the fourth line, dreams and do. The letter D is repeated, so again alliterations. So what he's saying is to trust that miracles happen, because it's very rarely that we see miracles happening in our life. Miracles is something that happens very rarely. But then, only if you believe and only if you have hope, will you see miracles happening. Otherwise, maybe even a miracle may be happening and you will still not believe it. You will just think it is luck. Yes, so you have to trust that something good, miracle stands for something good in your life. Yes, so you should trust that something good will happen and what you have dreamt of, your aims in life will come true, because everything is in your hands. You are going to work hard towards making your goal, your dreams come true. Let's move to the next stanza. To believe is to see angels dancing among the clouds. Again here, epigram, both the lines together. Okay, both the lines together, also alliteration, because you have the letter A in angels and A in among. So the letter A is repeated for poetic effect. I am pausing so that you can write what I am saying. In the same two lines, you also have personification, because angels are something that is make believe. No one has actually seen angels. They are supposed to be there, but no one has actually seen them. So here you are giving angels the ability, human ability of dancing. So personification. Now when he says, you see angels dancing among the clouds, angels stand something for something good. Yes. And when does someone dance? When you're happy. So here you find good things happening to you. Their angels are coming with some good news for you. Yes. So they are dancing among the clouds, and you will generally find angels in the sky. So that's why he's saying angels dancing among the clouds. To know the wonder of a stardust sky and the wisdom of the man in the moon. Now the third line, to know the wonder of a stardust sky. Now wonder here stands for amazement. And what is stardust? Stardust stands for something that's magical. Now I don't know if you all watch a magical series or anything, any movie to do with magic. You'll generally find a wand in the hand of the fairy. Yes, if you all have seen Cinderella, when she waves her wand, you find little sparks, little stars coming out from the wand. Yes, what she holds in her hand, that is stardust. That little dust particles that fly out from the magical wand, which is in the fairies or the angel's hand, is called stardust. So the amazement when you watch the sky filled with stardust, that is magic. Stardust stands for magic. And the wisdom of the man in the moon. Now here letter M is repeated, man and moon, so it is alliteration. And letter S is repeated in stardust and sky, so again alliteration. Now why is he saying that the man on the moon has wisdom? For where has he gained wisdom? See, the wisdom of the man in the moon. If you see, it's not easy for any man to go to the moon. First of all, they have to gain a lot of knowledge. To have that much of knowledge and that much of wisdom to be able to be in a position to be sent to the moon. To become an astronaut is not easy. The second thing is, when you go on to the moon, that's when you see things around you in a different from a different outlook, because you are not standing on the earth, you're standing on the moon and looking down on the earth. So you're looking out, your perspective of looking at things is different. You are in outer space, you are in total darkness all around you. Yes, it's just you are in the sky itself, and you are looking down at the earth from where you get life, from earth from where you get knowledge. So your wisdom increases. Life on the moon is different. The experience living on the life, or even stepping on the moon, is totally different from living on the earth. So the man who has traveled to the moon, first of all, to be able to qualify to travel to the moon, he has to have gain a lot of wisdom. And once he even reaches the moon, he gains even more wisdom or experiences new and different things. Moving on to the third stanza. To believe is to know the value of a nurturing heart. Here, this is epigram because it is a saying. Yes, it is a proverb. So whenever you're writing epigram, EPIGRAM, your explanation will be that it is a saying or a proverb. Okay. What is nurturing heart? What do you mean by nurture? Nurture here means to nourish, to help, to grow. So you should know the value of a nurturing heart. Here, heart, can a heart nurture you? Can a heart feed you? No. So the heart is given the human ability of being able to nurture. Now a mother nurtures her newborn baby with her milk, right? She feeds her milk and nurtures her. Your mothers nurture you with the food and help you to grow, nurture you with their love. Here the heart they're talking of is the love. So a person may grow physically with the food that he eats, but he grows emotionally, mentally strong with the emotional values, with the love that he gets from the people around him, like especially his parents, his family. So here they are saying you should value these people who are around you, who are nurturing you, who are helping you to grow into a good human being, to grow well. So, have you all finished? The next one, the innocence of a child's eye. Now, if you see in a child is born innocent. He doesn't know what is right and what is wrong. It's only and only when people correct him, when his elders correct him, that he realizes that this, what I am doing, is wrong. So a child is basically born innocent. He learns the things, whether right or wrong, as he is growing up. So the only thing you will find in the look of a child, the child's eye, is innocence. Now here again, it is personification. Uh, it is synecdoche, because it's not the child's eyes that are innocent, but it is the child that is innocent. Yes. So concrete the concrete stands for the a part stands for the whole. A whole stands for the part. The child is innocent and they are saying that the eyes are innocent. So the whole, that is the child, stands for the part, that is the eyes. The whole is actually the child who's innocent. But what are they saying? That the eyes are innocent. Have you all written? Synecdoche, Synechdoche, synecdoche. Okay, we go to the next line. And the beauty of an aging hand. Now again here you see it's the same synecdoche, because who is aging? Who is growing old? Aging means growing old. Is the only hand is growing old? The whole person is growing old. So again, the whole, that is the person, stands for the part, that is the hand. The synecdoche, Synechdoche. The whole stands for the part. Okay, now here, why is he saying, if you look at a person who is old, you'll find they do not really look very pretty or beautiful. Their hair may be grey, they maybe have no teeth, their skin will be wrinkled, they cannot walk properly, they may be bent, they cannot stand straight. Yes, they wobble when walking. There are so many things that they cannot do. But here they are saying the beauty of an aging hand. Here they are talking of the experience, or the beauty in the love that they have, the knowledge that they have. Yes, so here the beauty of growing old. Yes, along with the knowledge that they have gained through their years of experience. Now the last line, for it is through their teachings we learn to love. Yes, now if you see the last two words, learn to love, the letter L is repeated, so alliteration. Learn and love, the letter L is repeated, so alliteration. Also the letter T is repeated through their teaching, so alliteration. So your explanation will be the letter T and L. Don't repeat it twice. Just say the letter T and L are repeated for poetic effect. So therefore it is an alliteration. Okay. Now here the last line, what does it mean? For it is through their teachings we learn to love. So these people who have grown old, our parents, our grandparents, they have a lot of experience and they teach us through their experience. They not only give us knowledge, but they also teach us how to love the things that we have, love the things around us, to value it, which is very important. If we do not learn to love the things around us, if we do not learn to value the things around us, we will have no respect for those who are around us, and in return no one will love or respect us also. So their teachings are very, very important in our life. I'm breaking the lesson into two parts. Today I'm teaching you all only this much. The next three stanzas I will teach you tomorrow. So as a homework, you will write this lesson, the whole lesson. You write the whole lesson, but I have taught you only the first three stanzas. So you write the figures of speech of only the first three stanzas. That is your homework for today. Okay, so when I will give you all the homework, the question and answers later on. So right now you can write the whole poem, and the figures of speech of the three stanzas that I have taught you as a homework. Thank you and have a nice day.